Yo, what's going on, guys? Your boy Pony Montana, and in this video, we're gonna be going over the meta in Madden 23 on offense. This is gonna be more of an introduction video to what the meta is and certain things you guys can do to pretty much keep your opponents off balance when you guys are playing offense. Now, before I get into it, if you guys could do me the favor of liking the video, subscribing if you are new, and commenting anything down below in the comment section, especially if you guys are struggling. Or if you just want to type in FTA because it's for the algorithm and it helps push these videos out to more and more people. So yeah, if you guys are struggling, leave it down in the comment section. Now, we're simply going to be going over the meta in Madden 23, and it's funny because I seen a stat on Twitter the other day which mentioned how the pro players are playing, and pro players will always set the meta when it comes to Madden. They are the best players in the world, so who better to set the meta than them? And one of the thing that the stat said was that I believe it was 70% of the plays that were snapped in the current tournament that's going on. I believe it finishes up tomorrow on Wednesday, but one of the main things that everybody was doing is they were coming out in their in some kind of formation. So say I'm coming out in, let's come out in tight offset, right? And I'm sitting there and I set my audibles up, and I'm setting up my audibles like this. This is how I usually set my audibles right here. Saints in, Owen trap, bench, and then PA shot seams. But another thing that I'm going to want to do is set my audibles in a different meta kind of formation. So if I'm running a formation like spread, or if I'm running bunch and I'm running tight offset, I can sit there and audible throughout those three formations and keep my opponent off balance, but I will have to have my audible set in between these formations. So this is going to be an introduction, and then I'll go over different playbooks that you guys can actually utilize to make this, to make this as effective as possible, and some of the playbooks that some of the pro players are using. Well, I'll tell you some of them right now, and then I'll go over specific schemes in different videos. But if you guys are rocking the Lions playbook, you guys are able to sit there and go from trips tight end to bunch to gun tight to I believe there's one more, but that's one of the best playbooks to utilize this tactic with, because you're going to be able to sit there and come out in PA shot seams, right? And then the defense is going to come out in whatever meta formation they're coming out in. Let's come out in 2-4, I guess, nickel 2-4, right? And they set their defense up, and then all of a sudden you sit there and you make it look like you're audibling, right? Oh, I actually just messed that up. Let me throw a dot. Pick artist is crazy. Now you make it look like you're audibling and or doing whatever, and then next thing you know, once they get used to you running your tight offset, you come out in the same tight offset, but you're going to sit there and audible around to a different formation to keep your opponent off balance, and then pretty much you're going to be able to quick hike them pretty much instantly, and then you're going to be able to keep them off balance as much as possible. It's one of the most frustrating things as a good defensive player, if you're sitting there setting up your entire defense to stop tight offset, and then your opponent audibles to a formation that you have to know a completely different defense to actually stop. And I believe the stat was it was like 70 or 80% of the plays at the line of scrimmage were audibled, right? They were audibled, and then they'd set up their setup, and then they'd quick hike. So as soon as they get set up, they'd have a play to sit there and throw an absolute laser with, and it's just extremely frustrating if you guys are on the defensive side of the ball. But that's part of football, that's part of Madden, that's part of being good at this game, is being able to keep your opponents pretty much thrown off balance. So if I come out and I go, you know what, let me switch it up a little bit and let me hop into this spread formation. This is something that's going to keep your opponent off balance and off guard, and then we're going to be able to sit there and throw a nice little laser in between the seams, seeing that we know that our opponent is running like a cover 3 or something like that. So again, your job is to keep your opponent as off balance as possible with as many formations that you guys can possibly perfect. I'm gonna sit there and say I'd only try to attempt this with 3 different formations, but the meta currently is only 2. So you'll see people hopping from bunch to tight slots. Like I believe the Colts playbook is one of those playbooks that you're able to do that in. If you're a very good bunch runner, you come out in tight or bunch, and then you audible between the two. And if you perfect both of those offenses, whoever it is that you're playing on offense or defense, excuse me, is going to be completely thrown off, and they're not going to know what to do, and it's going to be extremely frustrating for them to stop you. This is the meta currently. That's why you'll see a lot of people hop into this gun tight offset, and then they'll randomly hop out and they'll hop into bunch. This is when you know that you're playing someone who is a very decent player that is ready to dye your life away, because that's exactly what they're ready to do. They're ready to sit there and throw as many lasers as possible. So if you guys are struggling with offense on Madden, try to keep your opponent off balance, and it might help you guys move the ball a little bit more, more efficiently, more proficiently, because you guys, and you could do this with anything, by the way. It doesn't have to mainly go through passing formations. You can sit there, and one thing that you guys can do, and this is something that we used to do last year because it was a little bit better. You can with the way the abilities work in Madden, not like nowadays, you guys have the opportunity to sit there and put a running back with like short and elite, and then now all of a sudden you can come out and gun tight offset, right? And the defense calls whatever, and now I can audible down to an I form close and run stretch if I'd like to, or just keep your opponent off balance thinking that you're going to run the ball now, but now we're going to sit there and throw a nice little laser against a cover 3, and now our offense changes and everything gets a little bit more difficult for our defender or whoever we're playing to sit there and guard everything that's on the field, especially if you're coming out in something like that where you're audibling down to a run kind of formation where they can't stop it. So we got strong flex where we got a stretch here, and then we got I form close where we could put a stretch in that. But again, it's all about keeping your opponent off balance and making sure that they can't, what's the word I'm looking for? They can't find the strategy to stop you because you're audibling from this to that, from this to that, from this to that. It gets extremely frustrating if you're on defense. It's pretty much the base of this. There's pretty much the base of this video, but 3 of the main playbooks that you guys can utilize this in is the Lions, the Colts, and the Saints. Those are the 3 main playbooks that I keep seeing circulating throughout the community. If you guys are in the Lions, again, you guys can audible from bunch to gun tight to trips tight end. And then if you guys are in the Colts, the main one that people are audibling into is gun bunch to tight slots. And then if you guys are in the Saints, you're audibling from gun bunch to gun tight and back and forth. So this is actually the playbook that I'm currently using is the gun bunch playbook, because I can like if I'm winning the game by multiple scores and I want to keep the game close and take down as much time as possible, I'm going to come out and gun tight, and I'm going to audible down to an I form or a single back or something like that to keep my opponent very, very frustrated. This is the meta currently. This is going to win you more games. This is going to keep your opponent off balance, and it's going to frustrate your opponent more often than not. My name is Pony Montana. Hopefully you guys start doing this as well, because it only will make your game better. And that's the point of this channel, is to make you guys as good of Madden players as possible. I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, 2 fingers, you guys. Deuces, and peace out.